Morning friends, just coming back on to show you part 2. Remember these we did yesterday? Well, they're all dry now. And what I did overnight was I just folded them in half. After I dried them, I put them on the radiator last night and dried them super quick because my heating was on. And then I stuck them all together like so. And put them under something really heavy, a box with that was really heavy, just to flatten them, to give them a flattened, more flattened so they didn't curl. So we've got we're going to work with these two today. We've got the one that I did with the napkins yesterday. And this is more fabricy feeling and a little bit thicker than the paper one that we did. But what I've done this morning before coming on video was I've stitched them around the edge with my little Inky Dinky sewing machine, which is a tiny one from Hobbycraft that I use just for crafting. And what I've learned over the years of doing stitching on paper is that you do need the thicker needles. And when I say the thicker needles, make sure that your needles in your sewing machine are for jeans, because that way you don't have to worry about whether you're going to break your needles or not, because it's set up for thick material. And I've done navy blue on here, and just to keep it in. And you don't have to sew around the edge. If you don't have a sewing machine, then don't do it. You could staple all the way around the edge if you wanted to keep it, make sure it didn't fall apart or keep it together. And then you can just do the inside with washi tape to cover the staples up. So the world is your oyster now again. So what are we going to do next? Well, I'm on the napkin bit. We're going to do a bit more sticking and gluing. Now, and then for this one, I'm going to do both of them actually, I think I may. Oh, here we go again, I don't know. We're going to start with this one. So to get my napkin, which I've left, I haven't parted it yet, I'm just going to go round each rose with some water. I've just got a little bottle of water here and a thin brush. Oh, where are you? Thin brush, and just going around that because I don't want to cut. I want to have a bit of a frayed edge, and that way I also find that it does blend into the background, whatever you're working on, better. So you only need you don't need a thick brush, because if you get too much water then it all falls apart, but it just makes it super easy to then detach each one and keep it to the side. So I'm going to do this, not bore you with it, and come back in a second. Okay, so I have cut quite a few out and laid them down here. Now obviously you can take, when I say take the backing off, you're going to have a 2 or a 3 ply, what's known as a 2 or a 3 ply tissue, so the backing will come off. You have to be faffy about it, but it will come off. So I didn't take the backing off mine, I just took these off and then I cut them into, those little ones, and then I'm just blowing the edge because it will part itself then, and then it's just easier to take apart. Put that to one side and we use that rose. Now you don't have to, if you don't want to use napkins, you can paint over this, you can leave it as it is, you can do whatever you want to do with it. It's your journal cover. And don't always have your roses facing the right way or whatever you're putting on there. Just make it random. Don't be afraid to go over your edges. And this is just another way you could add, when you're doing when you're doing journal covers, and it's about adding layers. Okay, so let me just get rid of that and bring in my pot of UPVA glue. Again, you could use whatever glue you want, decoupage glue, it doesn't really make any difference. But I'm just going to wet the area, put the tissue on, wet the tissue. Whoops, and get another one stuck to it at the same time. And again, no rhyme, no reason, it just adds another layer to your, and stiffens it up as well. dual purpose. So don't be afraid to go on your edges or over your edges, or to have your picture hanging off to make it look. I mean, this is not going to be seen probably, because I am probably going to do another layer on top of this. Oh, are you on camera? Are we on camera? Which will be just taking the background back a little bit by adding maybe some gesso. I may add some of my clotted cream chalk paint. But this is, it's all about layering. It doesn't matter what you do, the more layers you put, the more dimension and depth that it will give whatever it is you're applying this to. And these will dry super quick because it's just a very thin layer of glue, isn't it? And some of them you can't even see, they just blend beautifully into the background, but it's just another, again, as I said, it's just another process that you can add, which is just so nice. It doesn't matter which way up you put your picture. It's just because I want another layer here. And again, for me, it doesn't matter if it's wrinkly, if it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not even looking at the actual tissue before I put it on to see which way up it is, so because it doesn't matter to me. I just want to get these on here. Well, I hope you're having a great day and are inspired by thousands of YouTube, millions of YouTube people who spend their time putting videos up for us all. Thank you to everybody that does that, even to inspire me. Don't want that one there. I watch hundreds. I'm subscribed to hundreds upon hundreds of different styles of videos. So thank you to everybody that uploads videos that I get to watch. I couldn't possibly name them all because I've got over 200 subscription, people who I follow. I think it's just good to keep it's like a community, isn't it? It's beautiful. Okay, so there's just another layer. Let's show you that side. So it just adds another layer. And again, we're going to, even though that's wet, I'm going to chuck the roses all over the floor. I'm going to add, bring this table a little closer, bit of chalk paint. Now, I never showed you on the last video what this chalk paint, this is Deco style chalk paint. It wasn't Annie Sloane's, but I love Annie Sloane, as we know from my other videos. This is actually from Aldi. And let me just get a flat dry brush. I'll use that one. And again, you could paint onto and blot if you want, or you could just dry brush some cream on. I'm going to go over this in a minute. And obviously you could wait. I'm not a patient person to wait for all my stuff to dry, and I'm okay with that. It's neither here nor there really. But I do like, you don't need much paint, by the way. Well, you can use as much as you like. Who am I to dictate what you do in your journal? It's your journal. So again, you're taking the intensity of the colour down. Oh, and again, you could whitewash this, you could gesso it, but it just puts it to the background a little bit more. It's not so in your face. But again, you don't have to do this. You could do it in whatever colour you like. You can overshadow it in. And again, you can blot it. I'm going to show you that in a second. I've actually got, I could just put my hand on it, which I can't. because it's over. Let me just go and get some and show you what I was saying. Let me just put that to one side for 1 second. You could get a little bit of bubble wrap and you could paint the bubble wrap. Or you could get a little piece of greaseproof paper or something like that. And this one actually was a package, inside a package, and you can just put that over the top to get even a less amount of paint on whatever you're working on. So just, it's just another way, and this will actually give you dots rather than, but you can see, again, it just adds dimension and texture. Probably can't see it well on camera, but it does work well. And you can do as much or as little as you like. But again, you could stamp on this. We could do that next. I've got plenty of, you could stencil onto it. But you can see how it's just taking the background from in your face to not so much in your face in terms of colour. Let me just pull this one out and pull this one in. So don't want to put those on that. So again, I'm just going to, and again, I could use different colour on this, but I'm just going to use cream for the say-so of the demonstration. And again, adding a little bit more texture to that which already is. You probably can't see it on camera, but that just works out beautifully. And again, you can use whatever you choose to use. Let me just get rid of that to a space where it's not going to. So we've glued together, we've stitched, we've stuck all our scraps on, and it's turning out to be really beautiful. And again, don't look at it and think, oh no. If you don't like it, then do something else with it. Change it. Add some colour. Put some stamps on it. Do something, whatever you feel like doing to it. You could stamp over the top of that once it's dry. You could add more colour once it's dry. Actually, you see, I just like to go, let's try this. So I have some, let me just see if I can get the label off before I say what it is, because I don't know what it is. Drawing ink, and I got it on sale at the Works for £1.50, and it looks pretty cool, but I'm not going to use it. I'm going to get messy now. I'm not going to use it straight out of that bottle. I'm going to put it into a little spray bottle and get it everywhere, probably knowing me. So I'm just going to tip some of that out into the spray bottle. And now I'm going to spray. Obviously away from my camera, because otherwise I'm going to get it all over everywhere, because I know what I'm like. Oh, and it's dripping. And it's actually going everywhere, not that you can see that. Oh, everywhere. You'll see in a second because it's all over my hands. Right, we'll probably just leave that. Oh, drip, drip. That's probably why I don't use that bottle. Couldn't understand why. Right, I just need to put this into that plastic bag, otherwise I'm going to have it everywhere. Right, what you need to do is make sure you don't end up looking like that. But again, you can just knock it back if you don't like it, move it around. I did spray on that, and as you can see I sprayed everything else with it. I just got some of those old tissues a second and just wipe my table up. Okay, so you could use that, right? I mean, you can use anything on this stuff. You could probably even not get it at your nails like me, so hey ho, it's the fun of it all. So again, you could spray on this. You could use probably, I don't know what kind of inks. I'm not an artist. You see, what you need to do is make sure that you don't do what I've just done, which is actually sprayed all over my Mac. Quick tidy up. Okay. So again, you can do whatever you want, and I've got some, actually, I have got some, see, I'm just a little devil for punishment, aren't I? You could actually get some of this out of here, probably on a brush. I've got now this drawing ink in, that was turquoise, was it? Drawing ink turquoise, and this is lemon yellow. So let's see what I can do with this. I'm going to just dunk my brush in it, actually. I'm sure there's artists out there screaming at me, no, don't use it like that. Oh, I don't care, actually. I just want to do it how I want to do it. So I'm just sticking it on here, and it's a technical term, isn't it? And then just letting it run. Kind of like that. A bit like that. Again, you could probably use a pipette to make this easier, but I'm doing it this way. You could do whatever you want. It is just what it is, you know. And this is what I like about mixed media, and there is no rhyme or reason as to how you go about doing stuff, which is awesome. There we go. That's that version done. I'm going to get my blue back. And get it everywhere. I'm okay with getting dirty. Right, I'm going to stick that in there. I'm also going to put this, and then I'm going to get that in there. Okay. So, sorry, I'm doing this so off camera so you can't see. I'm just dipping my brush in here, getting it loaded up, and then just tapping it on the edges. And then if it gets too busy, I'm just going to see. Oh, let's just turn you around. So sorry. I'm just thinking of myself and not thinking of you while I'm doing this. If it gets too busy, then what we do is knock it back with some cream or something. I haven't got any, where's my lid gone? Water to stick that in there. So if you don't like it, then change it again. Whatever, it's whatever you want to do, you know. If you don't like it, change it. So there we have it, some beautiful blues and yellows and greens on top of what was. And it, you know, it's your project. You don't want to be worried about how it comes together, or why, if it doesn't come together, or if it does come together. Where was I going next? Yes, so I was going to say you could actually just go to my boxes. I have a small collection of plastic goodies that actually I can take that off there now, that I collected because it had nice like ribbles on the bottom of the packaging. So I thought, oh, that would be good if I could just paint that and then just cut this corner off. Now those bits I know are tinier bits that would go to, that are going to go in landfill rather than loads of it. Oh no, not that brush. Let's get another brush. So on here, which is ribbled, I'm just going to paint the bottom of the ribble with quite a bit of paint. Again, my chalk paint, I haven't, my other paints are here, but I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to get them out just yet. And again, you could wait for this to dry, but Mrs. Impatience here is not going to do that. Which is fine. I'm just okay with all of that. I can't remember what this was off. I think it was off a, was it off I don't know, something that came in a box with a box with plastic as the bottom bit. Might have been a camera or something along those lines. See again, so you just keep moving it around until you get it like you want it. So again, there it is, changed again. So again, this is what I love about this sort of work, is that you could, it doesn't matter how much you do to it, it just becomes better and better. You can't get, for want of a better worse, there's no such thing. This is really, really busy now, but that's okay. I'm liking busy. And if I don't like it, then I'll just paint over the top of it and take it right back to nothing. But I really do like that. And what you can do with these then is wash them and off you go again. So 12 minutes in, so we're nearly done on this on this bit, just to say, right, so you can do anything you want on part 2. You can add it, decoration to it, you can stamp on it. So let's just think of all the things that you could do with this. So you could stamp, you can paint, you could emboss. You could do embossing on here by, well, that's obvious how you do embossing, might not be for some people, but you could do embossing, you could do stamping, you could do painting, you can do stenciling, you can do, the world's your oyster, you can do. So I'm just going to leave that one to dry again because I really, really like that as a busy background. And then what we're going to do next is I'm going to come back and I'm going to stitch up some fabric to put on the front, and we're going to embellish it